Hi there, my name is Ron Rogers, and this presentation is titled A Rough Start to the Year for Aviation. Yeah, 2024 has been a very rough year, a very rough start. And I've been asked by several people to comment on the Alaska Airlines accident, and I usually don't like to make a comment unless I've got something to say. And of course, the accident investigation on both these aircraft is still in the early phases, but a comment I would like to make. Well, first of all, the whole thing about if it's not Boeing, I'm not going. I think a few people are probably reevaluating that. Boeing's history is not going well lately, and some people even take it back to what they call the reverse merger with McDonnell Douglas that changed a lot of upper management. It doesn't seem to be the company it used to be. Boeing is not having a good history with their MAX series of aircraft. Of course, we all know about the MAX 8 accidents and the lack of communication the company afforded between the test pilots and the program engineers. And last year, the FAA told pilots to limit the use of anti-ice systems on the MAX in dry conditions because of concern that the inlets around the engine could overheat and break away. My gosh, possibly striking the plane. And in December, Boeing told airlines to expect the airplanes for possible missing bolts in the rudder system. And now we have the issue of loose, possibly even missing bolts on this door plug in the fuselage. Now, as I mentioned on a previous video on the JAL accident, we may have a lot to learn with composite structures, and I think on the JAL accident 516 here, 379 people are still alive. I think it will be interesting to find out what role the composite structure played in accident survivability on the first A350 lost here in nearly 10 years. It's an unfortunate situation, but I think we'll get a lot of good data. That's how we get a lot of good data, unfortunately, is from accidents. Now, the situation here with Alaska Airlines, Flight 1282 with 171 people on board, and the thing that I think is extremely significant is the fact that this happened at 16,000 feet. If they would have been at cruise altitude with a huge hole like that in the fuselage, I'm fairly confident the airplane would have survived because the pressure would have blown the door well clear of the horizontal stabilizer, so there'd probably been no interference. But even at 16,000 feet, if somebody had been sitting in those seats, or if this would have occurred at a higher altitude, there would have been several people who would have gone out that door or been severely injured. There's quite a wind blowing out there. They were doing 444 miles per hour. If you happen to see a previous video I talked about on a maintenance test flight on a T-38, I had the canopy come off at 580 miles an hour. And fortunately, though, I didn't get sucked out. I was well strapped in, although my mask was blown off and both of my checklists disappeared. They were strapped around my legs with Velcro straps, and anything loose in the cockpit, which there wasn't except for the checklist, is gone. Some coyote out in the Mojave Desert now has a T-38 checklist to play with. But there's a heck of a wind blowing out there. And if that would have happened at higher altitude, this would have been a whole different scenario. So there are lessons to be learned from both of these accidents. I think Boeing needs to reevaluate their management structure, their safety structure, and have a good, hard look at how they operate and how they have outsourced a lot of the production. I think there'll be a lot to learn. I think we've been very fortunate so far this year, and I hope the good luck continues and the accidents don't. Otherwise, it will not be a very good year, and it's not off to a good start. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.